Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Gardener. So I have this question, how to take care of baby succulents or pups, when to water, how to water, and how much of sunlight to be provided. Now guys, it all depends upon the size of the pup. In yesterday's video we had separated some of these pups which are still drying, which as I said is going to take another 2 to 3 days, but here I have another set of elegans which have been in the pot. Now these are of course pups, and they are from the variety of Haworthia elegans, Mexican snowball. So this one is Haworthia albicans, and this one is another variety, probably a snow bunny pup. So all of these pups are kept in indirect but bright light because all of them have the same requirement. I won't be exposing these succulents to direct sunlight. Most probably 2 or 3 hours of morning direct sunlight until 9:30, but nothing after that, because they cannot handle a lot of direct sunlight. So it all depends upon the variety of pup you have. Now talking about leaf propagation, we have this small little pup over here. Now always remember guys, if you are in doubt, keep them in indirect bright light. Do not expose them to direct sunlight, especially when they are very small like this, because remember, direct sunlight will burn them, it will dehydrate them. So when you are doing a leaf propagation, if the pups are very small, you can see there are roots, it's time to put it into the soil, but we cannot expose it to direct sunlight. We will come to watering later on. Right now let's just focus on sunlight. If you have any doubt, just keep it in indirect bright light. The intensity of the bright light should be good and you are good to go. There won't be any damage if you are going to keep your plants in indirect bright light. For example, this small little pup, it is going to be kept in indirect bright light probably for another 6 months or maybe up to a year, because they are very small. Depending upon the pup size is when we start offering sunlight. Now over here I have my Haworthia minima. You can see the size is very different. So this one gets around 3 to 4 hours of morning direct sunlight, because this is Haworthia minima. It has a good set of roots. It is well acclimated. You can see that beautiful color. Now if I'm going to expose this particular succulent to afternoon direct sunlight, it will get burned. So check the variety that you have. Check whether a succulent needs direct sunlight or indirect bright light. For example, our elegans prefer indirect bright light, whereas a minima prefers direct sunlight. So it all depends upon the type of variety. Then comes the size. So if the size of the succulent is small and you are confused, as I said, keep it in indirect bright light with a good amount of intensity. Nothing can go wrong. Direct sunlight, I'm not very sure what is the intensity of direct sunlight in your location and what is the climate. Probably you have more stronger sun rays, and that is going to burn the succulent. So if you are in doubt, always keep it in indirect bright light. Whenever the succulent is very small, keep it in indirect bright light. Do not expose it to direct sunlight if the pup size is small, or if you feel that the succulent is delicate. Indirect bright light is the safest form of light that you can provide to your succulent. Leaf propagations, tiny pups that are around, let's say 2 centimeters or 3 centimeters, keep them in indirect bright light. Succulents that do not change the color from green to any other color, keep them in indirect bright light. Only succulents that are brightly colored, which have a good amount of farina, which are large in size, acclimate them and then put them out in morning direct sunlight. But please avoid putting them out in afternoon direct sunlight. That is not going to work out. Your succulent will either get burnt or it will get dehydrated. Even if the succulent has been acclimated to direct sunlight, it still cannot handle afternoon sunlight. As I said, it will either get burnt or it will get dehydrated. Now coming to watering, again it all depends upon the succulent. Smaller the succulent, it would require a little bit more watering. Among all of this lot, this one is the one that would require a little bit more frequent watering as compared to the other succulents, because this is a baby plant. It has a long way to go. They don't have a proper stem They have roots which are very fragile. Unlike our other succulents which can store water in the leaves, they have leaves but they are very tiny, which means that they don't have a lot of capacity to store water and have a higher chance of getting dehydrated. So you'll have to check your soil. Do not keep them underwatered for a very long time. Give them water. Just check your soil and offer them water. Don't keep them underwatered for a very long time. Now coming to your succulents that tend to look like this size. Now these can be treated like adult succulents. You have to water when the soil is completely bone dry. But unlike our adult succulents, do not keep them underwatered for a very long time. You can again see the size of the leaves are very small. They do not have a very established root system. They do not have a lot of capacity in the leaves to store water. So they cannot be kept underwatered excessively. The moment you see that the soil is completely bone dry, you can wait for a day and then go ahead and do a watering. Whereas when we have our succulents that have almost reached a medium size, they have to be treated like our adult succulents, meaning the soil has to be completely bone dry, wait for another couple of days and then go ahead and water. So your medium size pups and your adult succulents will have the same type of watering, meaning when the soil is completely bone dry, wait for a couple of days and then go ahead and water. When you have a pup that is very small, I don't know how big is this, probably it is maybe 1 to 2 centimeters. If you have a succulent like this, water them, but don't water them every day. Let the soil dry completely, wait for a day and then go ahead and water. Whereas your pups, you can go ahead and water it, but ensure that you do not wait for the soil to be completely bone dry. Let there be a very little amount or a very slight amount of moisture in the potting media. That's the reason why we tend to use coco peat to maintain that slight amount of moisture, because they are still growing. It's going to take a little bit of time for them to adjust and to become into an adult succulent. So when they are very small like this, you have to maintain a very slight amount of moisture but not soggy wet soil. This slight amount of moisture and soggy wet soil, it is a little tricky to understand, but as and when you start growing them, you'll get a fair idea, because this is something that you have to personally check. Maintain a very slight moisture. Do not keep them underwatered for a very long time. If you're going to keep them underwatered for a very long time, then they will get dehydrated, the roots will get dried out, and then it's going to be very difficult for that small little propagation to recover or to do a comeback. So that was all about it. It is a little bit confusing in the initial stage, but as and when you start gaining experience, it becomes very easy. Your medium-sized succulents and your mother plants need to be treated the same way. Only your pups, your leaf propagation and smaller pups, they have a little bit of difference in watering. But the thumb rule remains the same. If you have a doubt, if you feel at any point that maybe 1% of the soil is still wet, I'm not very sure, then the best thing to do is don't water, wait for another probably a day or maybe 2 days, wait for some time, because as I've said, underwatering is much better than overwatering. Even our pups also can get overwatered, so we have to be extremely careful. This again of course comes over time, it comes with experience. Initial stage, it is going to be quite difficult. You might lose some succulents, you might get some success. It all depends. This is what gardening is all about, trial and error, and that's how you start to learn. When I started keeping succulents, I also had to go through the same process. I killed a lot of succulents. I had a very bad experience with leaf propagations. I didn't know how to take care of it. But over the period of time, losing a lot of leaf propagations, learning about them, trial, error, everything came together. And today I'm able to grow my leaf propagations in a very successful way, as you can see. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe and keep propagating.